Well, good morning, whoever's out there. We are starting live in 2 minutes. It's Coffee with Casper. And here comes Casper right here. There's Casper. There he is. Yay! Hi from Hollywood. Can you hear me okay? Everybody good? There's the Casper doggy right there. Good morning from Palm Springs. Good morning. Good morning from New Hampshire. Good to see you this morning. Good morning from Chicago, my kind of town. Chicago, there's a Casper doggy. Good morning. We're check in, let me know where you're from. Remember, we don't get here until 8:30. We start at 8:28. We're just kind of saying hi to folks. Just kind of saying hi. And then we'll get going at 8:30. Nice to see you all here this morning. Remember, you can go to newthought.com and get on the info page, and then you'll be sure to catch updates about what's happening and what we're doing and stuff like that. Newthought.com. Get on info, get on the list. Oh, look at this. This mic is backwards. Let's do it this way. You all hearing me loud and clear? I understand. All righty. We're almost there. There it is, 8:29. Let me know from Las Vegas. Welcome from Las Vegas. Good morning. Chicago, Las Vegas. Going to get some North Carolina in here in a second, I'm sure. Thank you. Casper is getting big and pretty, huh? Well, we just got him up here, so if you weren't with him, you'll see him at the end of the broadcast. Good morning, everybody. Here we go. Let's everybody, it's 8:30. It's time for Coffee with Casper. Here we go. Everybody take a deep breath. One more time. Let that breath come into your heart and just allow yourself to have this particular 20 minutes together. Yay! Peace be unto thee, stranger. Enter and be not afraid. I have set a place for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Hey, good morning, everybody. Nice to have you. Well, today is the 14th week in a row that we have done Coffee with Casper for these 20 minutes. We remind you that this is the intention, and we're going to talk a lot about intention today. The intention here is that we do some good to help people find their strength and to find their creative imagination so that they can use those two things, courage, which comes from the word cœur, French, for heart, to find the courage, the strength, and imagination to keep dreaming life forward, to bring us from this quarantine and from this pandemic into a new and greater good, a new greater possibility for humanity. So we're going to talk today about the word intention. Actually, my notes say the way you see things affect everything. I'm going to talk about a wonderful show called If Then with Idina Menzel and all the implications of that. And we're going to talk about this word intention and what we are doing with intention. Because an intention is an ongoing vibration that we're sending out. So what we think about tends to come about. Thoughts are things, we're aware of this idea, but it's our intention that is the vibration that is constantly entering the law of circular motion. That which goes out from me comes back to me. That which is called the law of cause and effect, the law of mind. In the ancient traditions, it was called the law of karma. But it is, in fact, the mechanical aspect of God, or energy or source, that reflects back to itself through its own self-contemplation. And everybody say, touch your heart if you're willing, and say, I am. I am. Now, we have a lot of things that come after that I am. But the I am itself stands by itself without argument. You know, we may say, well, I don't want to be, or I didn't ask to be, or I don't like what's happening in my being, but I am, that part is true. Now then we can begin to use the creative process to use that I am to bring forth those eternal verities, those eternal qualities of the divine that are what we want. I am peace, I am poise, I am balance, I am harmony, I am courageous, I am trusted, I am guided, I am protected, I am safe, I am joy. You see, there are many, many things that go on for eternity that we could attach to the I am, and that we know that those eternal qualities are automatically harmonious, because in order for things to go on eternally, they have to be harmonious. There can't be something that would rise up and change it. Beauty is forever. Beauty in today's day is the same as beauty in the Renaissance day. Wisdom is the same in today's day as it was in the Roman day, when the first philosophers were coming, Socrates and the like were coming up, with the Greeks and the philosophies were being born. The knowledge and wisdom are consistent. They don't argue with each other. Knowledge changes. Wisdom is that which we extract from knowledge, which is eternal. So let's look at this word intention. The actual definition of intentions means a thing that is an aim or a plan. The second definition of intention is really interesting because it's a medical term. It's the healing process of a wound. The healing process of a wound. Now, if we think about that, the healing process of a wound, that means every wound has an intention to be whole. And so what we know is there is in energy itself, in infinite energy itself, energy and matter are equal and interchangeable. They go on forever. They constantly changing form from energy and matter and back to energy and back to matter. That's what's happening in creation, and it goes on eternally. So there is an intention in that eternal process to reveal wholeness. I love the definition of healing, which is the revelation of wholeness. The revelation of wholeness in body, in mind, in spirit. Wholeness is an intention of the universe. And of course, what we're wanting to do is get our personal intention to match that intention of the universe. To get your will to line up with the will of the infinite. To get your will to be in tune with the movement of harmony in eternal reality. So that we go from the now here to the nowhere, back to the now here, to the nowhere, that we know where we are, then we don't know where we are, then we know where we are. And of course, as we talked about last week, knowing where we are is relative. We know that we're humans incarnate on the planet Earth. We don't, hi there, Big Bear. We don't know, we don't really know where we are, except that we came from somewhere, and we are here, and we're going to go somewhere. So we call that the now here and the nowhere, but the nowhere is somewhere. That's just the way life flows, because it's a continuum. It always is going. So what we need to do is make sure that our intention, this is why we talk about daily we visualize, daily we look at desired outcomes. I'm taking a week off next week. I'll be in the family, with my family, kids and grandkids, and husbands and wives and all the beloveds. I'll be with them in a little island off here to our coast called Catalina Island. Now, what we know is we've done that trip for many years. What we know is it's going to be a little different this year. We have a different boat. We have circumstances that are different. We have some things that are the same. And we will have to go into the adventure with the intention of it being filled with love and joy and beauty and freedom, even in the presence of this particular disorder that's happening through the pandemic. But we know there is an intention of the universe to reveal wholeness. So the mind of man is working on it. The spirit of humanity is working on it. We are working on a healing, a revelation of wholeness that brings forth this greater good. Hi to Las Vegas. So what we're doing with our intention means we have to use our creative imagination to draw on the good, to chase away, to replace the fears and doubts with the possibility of a greater good, the possibility of a greater abundance, the possibility of a greater health, the possibility of even more joy, the possibility of greater appreciation of people and events and circumstances. So this is what we're working on, is daily we must make sure that we're not chasing the news, following statistics, because here's the other thing. I want to talk about this word probability, because in what we know about science, and the kind of science we're interested in is quantum science, which is the movement of energy into matter. how that happens. And it's done, what we now know is the observer affects the experiment, yes? So if the observer affects the experiment, what the observer is anticipating very much affects the outcome of what's going to happen. So you and I are in the process as light workers, as awakening beings, aware of what I call step 1 and step 2. Step 1 is the energy itself, source itself is all there is. You could call that God, you could call that self, you could call that source, you could call that I am. I like the I am idea because everybody has it. Everybody belongs to the I am. I am that which is that I am. I am that which is the holographic slice of the universe already built in me. Within me is this intention to move toward healing and wholeness, the revelation of all that I am. Not just as a human, but as a soul awakening in energy, as energy, communing with energy, and creating with energy. Imagine that. You're a soul in energy, as energy, with energy, and creating as energy. Now, we then want to move our intention so that that will is toward more life. I was noticing, as I frequently do, hi there, Middle California or Northern California. Nice to see you. Have you ever seen when you're driving on a freeway how those plants in the middle of all of that carbon monoxide and poisonous gases and wind blowing and traffic and noise and rubber, those plants seek their way through the concrete, through little cracks in the wall, always rising up toward what is their trope, to be entroped to the sun. And of course, as we have talked about, trope simply means to turn to. And ours is to be entroped to this high self of ourself. To as it guides us, just like a sunflower turns toward the sun, we are turning toward what we call that still small voice. We are learning to trust that voice of intuition within us that will guide us into the paths of right action, that will guide us toward the fulfillment of our intention. So this term probability is simply how likely something's going to happen. And what we know is when we're unsure about the outcome of an event, there's a probability that it'll go a certain way. And the way that it works in the universe is this intelligent law, this law of the circle that we talked about, this law that what you're creating on the inside becomes what you're calling forth on the outside, right? It's returning to me. That which I put out comes back to me, multiplied, sometimes pressed down and running over. So when we're putting out love and joy and peace and harmony and wisdom and freedom and belonging and honoring of one another, honoring of every soul, no matter what our background, no matter how we're expressing in the world, no matter race, color, creed, way of being, where we are in the scale of masculine to feminine, everyone who is identified as an I am is identified as the precious of God, of the precious child, the honest recreation of the source itself. And then we grow in awareness toward the magnificence of what that is. And of course, since that goes on for eternity, we will be growing in awareness toward our magnificence for eternity. As we turn toward that magnificence, as we turn toward that love, that joy, that beauty, that harmony, that belonging, it will return to us. But what we see in the human condition, particularly now, and if you're reading newspapers and watching the news, what we know is that there's a tremendous amount of fear, there's a tremendous amount of doubt, and statistics come back, and those are the interpretation of probabilities. But you see, there's this law of our life, I call it the law of mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. Now, when that thought goes out, it sets an intention of a probability coming a certain way. Now, we don't know how that's going to happen, but it will happen. I remember a number of years ago, I was traveling with my folks to New York City, and we had tickets to a show. And I'm in New York City. I hadn't seen this friend of mine for months, maybe a year or two, and I'm in New York City standing on a street corner and turn, and there she is. Completely, I didn't know she'd moved to New York City. I didn't know where she was. And what are the odds, what are the probabilities that you would find somebody you hadn't seen in a couple of years on a street corner in New York City in a random day in the summertime. The math is spectacular. But that's what this divine law is doing. It's taking your intention and it's spinning off probabilities. And there's a probability that might go this way, it might happen that way, it might happen a way you don't see, it might, and most often does happen in a way you don't see, because this law, which is receiving the impress of our consciousness, is working through perfect intelligence and infinite probabilities. And its intelligence is guiding through all of those different turns of events how your intention is being made manifest, and through what other avenues your intention is being made manifest. And very often we do not know how it's going to happen, but we set the intention that it is going to happen. I like Mike Dooley's idea of we have to stay out of the terrible hows. How something happened is a process of light and love and magic and creation, because we belong to the one, we are loved by the one, and the one wants our good to come to us. And that's why we have to constantly be in the practice of intending our greater good, intending the wholeness of our health, intending the wholeness of our soul's expression, intending the joy in our family, intending love to be fulfilled, intending peace to be reality, intending brotherhood and sisterhood and belonging to humanity in a diverse and inclusive way, as exactly the way the universe has intended it. That's why there is so much diversity in the world, because all of it belongs, and everyone belongs, and everyone has the complete right to the full, abundant expression of their lives. Now, that's a long way from where we are in the world, but that's why we have to rise up and hold that intention, to constantly recreate that intention in a fresh way with our I Am presence. The I Am presence is guiding, guarding, protecting, directing me. The I Am presence is managing my mind, my body, my home, and all the affairs of my world. And we keep surrendering to this higher intelligence in the presence of our fears, in the presence of our doubts, because this higher intelligence has the capacity to calm us down. It has a package to remind us, I'm getting what I call God bumps, to remind us who we really are. But we have to be in this dance with this high self, that we remember that we are not alone, that we are together in this thing, that all people are together. That's what the big time out is about. It's not, doesn't belong to one people or one culture or one country. It's happening all over the world. We need to find a way to allow this natural intention of healing to be made manifest. There was a wonderful play that came out a few years ago called If Then. It starred Idina Menzel, who's that wonderful voice and talented actress. But the show was a musical about living. This woman in her 30s was moved to New York City and recreating her life. And the way they staged it was there were circles around, and people would be standing on these circles, and there would, like, 3 circles would be moving around, and these circles of people would be moving around, and it was almost like where they stopped was those people created a probability, a path of events that unfolded. If they'd stopped somewhere else, it would have created a different path. So a different probability would have unfolded. So whatever's happening in our lives is happening because of our intention, and it's creating these wheels that are spinning with the folks, the people, the contacts, the circumstances, the situations that will bring about our intention, all moving in an infinite field of probabilities that only comes to pass when you stop and make a choice and move in a particular direction. Yes? And that determines how that intention will be made manifest. Holding the intention is our job. How it will be manifest is the job of this law of the circle, that what I think about comes about. Step 1 is remembering I am in the energy, that there's only one energy. Energy and matter are interchangeable. It's the same energy on this galaxy as every other galaxy. Energy is equal and equally distributed and everywhere present. Energy is intelligence. Energy is is working with itself in creation, and you and I, step 2 is an I am one with that energy. I belong to the one. I belong to, whether we call it spirit, God, divine, energy, source. It doesn't matter. I am one with the source. The source is all energy. The source is all intelligence. And that's the intelligence that I'm using. That's the intelligence that's in me. That's the intelligence that's in you. That's the intelligence that's everywhere present. And just like a boat, it needs a rudder. You have to steer in the direction of your intention. And if you're not forming an intention, if daily you're not visualizing and creating what is my life and fulfillment as I move with the healing in humanity, as I bring forth a greater healing in humanity, what is my intention in my life? What do I want? What level of abundance am I willing to accept? How much good am I willing to allow? Am I opening the doors to good and more good? Allowing good and more good to be in my mind and in my heart and in my experience, to open my eyes to the vista of a greater possibility, to be willing to say to your fears and doubts, I understand there's unknown, but there is also that which guides me through the unknown into the fulfillment of my intentions. Because it is the great law of life, the law of the circle's job, to figure out which probabilities and how those probabilities will come into play. It works that way with creating parking places. It works that way with creating health. It works that way with creating abundance in your life and opportunities in your life. It works that way in creative expression. That each of us we have the opportunity to draw on our individuality to create our own intention. What I'm thinking about is what comes about. And that's the way we move in the world. We create intentions. Through the intentions we draw probabilities, and probabilities bring forth desired outcomes. So long as I am creating the concepts of what it is that I desire. Each day I work with this I am that I am to know deeper love, deeper joy, deeper wisdom, deeper freedom, and a deeper possibility for good in my world. That's what it's all about. So keep practicing. Don't let a day go by where you don't greet the day. Greet the day every day. Use your creative imagination to establish your intentions, and then look out expecting your greater good, because the way you see things affects everything. I see that we live in a universe of good. I'm going to draw forth that good. I'm going to see through the mist, through the negativity, through the doubt, and through the fear, and into a deeper level of love and light and joy. Casper, come on up here. Come over. Come over here. Come here. Come on up. Oh, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Casper will be home with his beautiful sitter. Tricia will be with him, and he was not going with us to the island, but he'll be safe, I know that, and you'll be safe, I know that, and we'll be creative and wonderful and create more stuff together in just 2 weeks on Coffee with Casper. Please share this video with everybody you know, anywhere where it can do some good. We trust that we're bringing more light and more love and more peace and more joy into the world. I honor you. I bless you for being the light worker. And thanks for being with us on Coffee with Casper. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Go to newthought.com. Make sure you're registered so you get mails from me. We love you. We bless you. Thanks for being with you. Have a great week. Have a great couple weeks. And enjoy your summer. Bye for now.